Marian had just moved to the city, desperate for work, and found a job as a maid in the mansion of Miss Clara, a wealthy woman. Miss Clara's home was grand, with expensive furniture, a large garden, and a sparkling chandeliers. Marian had always dreamed of a life like this, a life of comfort and luxury. She quickly settled into her new role, cleaning, cooking, and caring for the children. Despite the lavish surroundings, Marian soon noticed something uncertain. Miss Clara, who had everything, always seemed unhappy. Maria worked diligently, hoping that one day she might experience the comfort Miss Clara had. But each day, Miss Clara's complaints grew louder, from small stains on clothes to the children's minor misbehaviors. Nothing seemed to please her. Mariam would do her best to please the woman, but no matter what she did, Miss Clara always found something to criticize. She began to wonder, despite having everything, why was Miss Clara so bitter? One evening, as Miriam swept the floor, Miss Clara entered the room in a frenzy. "This house is a disaster. How did you let this happen?" she shouted, pointing to a small speck of dust on the table. Miriam, exhausted from the long day, looked at her boss, feeling a mixture of frustration and sorrow. "I have cleaned everything as best I could," she replied softly. But Mr. Clara was not listening. "Don't make excuses. Just get it done," she snapped, her face twisted with anger. Marian stood silently, her heart sinking. She had heard stories about the cruelty of rich people, but never had she experienced it firsthand. As she wiped the table, Marian could not help but feel the sting of her words. Clara had everything in the world, yet still, she could not find peace. It made Miriam wonder, could it be that wealth was not the key to happiness after all? Days passed, and the tension between Marian and Miss Clara grew. One afternoon, while preparing dinner, Miriam overheard Miss Clara speaking to a friend on the phone. "I have everything, but it's never enough," Miss Clara was saying. "I have the house, the money, the clothes. What more could I want?" Her voice was full of bitterness, a stark contrast to the comfortable life she led. Marian's heart lightened as she listened, realizing that Miss Clara's riches had become a prison rather than a blessing. As Miss Clara continued, she revealed a deeper pain. "I am so lonely, Mariam. No one truly understands me," she said to her friend. Mariam stood frozen, her mind racing. How could someone with so much feel so empty? Mariam, who struggled to make ends meet, never felt such a void. It became clear to her that wealth without love and connection could never bring true fulfillment. One evening, as Miss Clara was getting ready for an event, she found a small stain on her expensive dress. "This is unacceptable. This dress costs thousands. Get it cleaned now," she demanded, her voice shaking with frustration. Miriam tried to reassure her. "I will take care of it, but it will take time." But Miss Clara was not hearing it. "I don't have time for excuses. Miriam, I need it done right now." Mariam felt her patience snap. She had been pushed too far. "You think your problems are the worst in the world," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But you don't understand. Some of us are just trying to survive. We don't have the luxury of complaining about stains on a dress." Miss Clara stopped in her tracks, stunned by the boldness in Miriam's voice. For a moment, there was only silence, and then Miriam walked out, leaving her employer alone with her thoughts. The next morning, Miriam's words hung in the air, and Miss Clara was left thinking about what had just happened. After a long day, she asked Miriam to meet her in the living room. I have been thinking about what you said, Miss Clara began, her voice softer than usual. You are right. I have everything, but I don't know what real happiness is anymore. She paused, looking down at her hands. I have spent so much of my life chasing after things that don't matter. Maria was surprised by Miss Clara's honesty. I know you don't have it easy either, Miss Clara continued, but at least you have the things that really matter. Your family, your love, your joy. Miriam listened intently, realizing that in that moment, the woman who seemed to have everything was actually the one who had lost the most. As the days went by, Miss Clara began to open up more to Miriam, sharing her struggles and her fears. I thought that once I had wealth, I would be happy. But now I see that it has only made me feel more alone, she admitted. She began to ask Mariam about her life, her dreams, and the things that brought her joy. What is it like to live a simple life? Miss Clara asked one afternoon, looking at Miriam with genuine curiosity. Miriam, who had lived her life with little, began to realize that she had something far more valuable than wealth. She had peace of mind and a sense of purpose. It's not always easy, but I am grateful for the little things, Miriam said. The love of my family, the food on my table, the roof over my head, they are enough for me. Miss Clara nodded slowly, a small tears escaping her eye. For the first time in years, she felt something stir inside her, a longing for the simplicity Mariam had found. Mariam was taken aback by the sincerity in Miss Clara's words. I don't know what to say, she replied, her voice soft. But I am glad you are beginning to see the truth. Miss Clara smiled through her tears. Thank you for making me realize that I don't know how to make things right. But I will try. I will make a change, Miriam, for the better. As time passed, the relationship between Miriam and Miss Clara grew stronger. Miss Clara, now humbled by her experiences, began to treat Miriam with more kindness and respect. She stopped demanding perfection and instead started to appreciate the hard work that Miriam put in every day. The two women began to share more than just a professional relationship. They became friends, understanding each other's pain and struggles. Miss Clara also began to reach out to others in need, using her wealth to support causes that help the poor. She had learned that true wealth was not in material things, but in helping others and making a difference in their lives. Miriam, too, felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that she had been part of Miss Clara's transformation. They were both learning what it meant to live a life of purpose rather than one defined by possession. One morning, Miss Clara came to Mariam with a new idea. I have decided to start a foundation, she said, her eyes filled with determination. I want to help people like you, people who don't have enough. I want to make sure no one else feels as lonely and empty as I did. Mariam was speechless. She never thought she would see the day when Miss Clara, the woman who once had everything, would be the one to give back. Mariam smiled. proud of the change she had witnessed in Miss Clara. "That is a wonderful idea," she said, her heart swelling with hope. "You will make a real difference. I am sure of it." Together, they began to plan the foundation, dreaming of ways to bring hope to those who had been forgotten by society. Miss Clara's journey had come full circle, from a woman who believed wealth could solve everything to one who realized that true happiness came from giving, not receiving. As the foundation grew, Miss Clara's life changed in ways she never imagined. She no longer sought material possessions for comfort. Instead, she found joy in helping others. One day, she turned to Mariam and said, "I finally understand what you meant when you said wealth does not bring happiness. I was so lost in my riches that I could not see the joy in helping others." Mariam nodded, proud of her friend's transformation. She had witnessed a woman who once had everything learn to cherish the simple things in life. Mariam, too, felt a sense of accomplishment. She had not only helped Miss Clara find peace, but had also played a part in bringing about change in the community. The woman who had become more than employer and maid. They had become sisters, bound by shared struggles and victories. They had both learned that the greatest treasures in life were not the ones that could be bought, but the ones that were found in kindness, love, and giving. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so you never miss an update. For more stories is on the way. Bye bye.